G'day and welcome back to another video. Now this one's starting off a little bit different than I thought it would. So basically I've come out to the escarpment today to look at death adder habitat. Sorry, something's moving behind me. But instead we've run into this Sheila, which is the heath monitor. Now I actually haven't been able to get this close to a heath monitor ever without touching it. I mean, she is so emaciated though. She's probably just come out of a really rough winter and probably laid a clutch of eggs. And now he's out looking for a feed, but she's obviously very emaciated, so we're not going to spend too long with her, but we will give her a drink because she looks very thirsty, and then we'll send her on her way. But I just thought it was really cool. This is the closest I've ever been to a heath monitor. Now these females, they'll lay eggs in terrestrial termite nests, so there is a few of them around here. I'd say she's got hers that she's been returning back to, and of course those little heathies hatch out around 9 to 12 months later, and they fill the escarpment. But this is actually the first heath monitor I've ever seen where we are now. I mean, I've seen them in Boreal where I live, and I've been spending basically the same amount of time up here on the escarpment, but I've never actually seen one here, so this is pretty cool. But anyway, we're going to let her keep going because obviously she needs a big feed, and she'd be chasing lizards like the Cunninghams that live literally right, there's one out right there behind me, I'll show you in a second, but I just knocked eyes with the Cunningham skink sitting right there, and that's what she's chasing. They're lizard specialists, and they're also a saxicoline species, so they're up on the rock in the escarpment and they don't really move out of that unless it's breeding season with the males. But yeah, she'd be chasing lizards, so we're going to let her back to it, and we're going to jump into death adders because that's what this video is about. Oh, there we go. Maybe she doesn't, maybe she does, who knows. She's just drinking, yeah, she's drinking a little bit off her face at the moment. I don't actually think thirst is her biggest issue. I actually think it's the food, so we're just going to let her keep going. But see you, love. Best of luck. Death adders. So there are 7 species of death adder across the country, across Australia, and here on the east coast of New South Wales we have the biggest and the most toxic, which is the common death adder. And for anyone who goes out herping looking for reptiles, it's usually the highest on their list, especially at night time. But in this video we're going to be chasing death adders, and hopefully we might see one in action in ambush. Now death adders, they're one of the most widely distributed genuses across Australia when it comes to venomous snakes, but they're also the only ambush venomous snake we have in the country. So every other species of venomous snake is an active hunter. Death adders, they're ambush predators, and that's what makes them so difficult to find, is because their camouflage is absolutely perfect. Now they use the dotted escarpment and leaf litter across the east coast of Australia, and right here where we are, this is exactly what you're looking for when you're looking for death adders, and it is that build up of leaf litter, the base of trees, and dotted escarpment along, so they can come in and out of bask. This habitat is actually perfect for adders because it's got exactly what they eat, which is almost exclusively lizards, skinks like you've seen before. We had the heath monitor, and they're obviously not going to eat a heath monitor, but the Cunningham skink as well. Anything that comes along and wants to eat what looks like a worm is good enough for a death adder. But we're going to check out a few spots that I think we might be able to turn one up, and then later tonight we're going to head out in search of one, and hopefully we can turn it up. Today has been the hottest day of the season so far, 35 degrees, and it's still 30 at 7 o'clock. Literally the sun's about to set, so we're out at one of my favourite spots, and of course tonight is the night we're looking for the common death adder. Now I reckon we're in for a good chance. It's been obviously very hot, but also there's a lot of humidity in the air, and as I said before, at the right time of the year, breeding season, so fingers crossed we can run into one. Alright, so this here is our road of choice. Me and Tilly are punching out about 50 minutes from the east coast or the central coast, and I'll show you why it's our road of choice. If you have a look over here, we just have this perfect dotted escarpment, massive build up of leaf litter, which obviously provide not only a lot of food for the death adder, but got a lot of spots for them to sit. And so at night they'll come out onto the tar to warm up, to regulate their temperature, whether that be to get enough energy to find a boy or a girl, or to find food. But yeah, I reckon this is where we're going to get one, if anything, because that is just textbook for death adder. It's perfect. Anyway, let's get on the road.
Give me a minute to breathe, 'cause I can't hold back all these tears. I'm still running away from your dear. Sometimes our memories flow back. You always wanna be kind, calling me once and it's fine, but all you do is lie, and it's haunting my mind, telling me how much you love me, but it's
Alright, well, not a snake, but another gecko. We got a thick-tailed gecko, which we actually don't see these too often, to be honest. They're not an uncommon gecko at all, but up here, they are definitely less common than they are down in southern Sydney, but very, very pretty. A very common pet as well in a lot of collections. But yeah, cool. That's actually, I think it's only the second one I've ever seen here, which is pretty cool. Very pretty gecko. They get their name, the thick-tailed gecko, or even the barking gecko, because of the noise they can make when they feel distressed. But yeah, overall, pretty cool gecko. Anyway, we're gonna let this fella keep going because we have snakes to find. So I'll see you later, mate. Well, you're short and fat, but you're not a death adder. What the hell? Bye, mate. First snake of the night. We've got ourselves a Stevens banded snake. Now, this is one of my favourites, especially at this spot, and this one's a cracker as well. But Stevens, they've got a lot of character, a lot of attitude. They're probably the definition of pugnacious. They just like biting everything, but we love them. And it's good to see a snake out finally. It's feeling really good. The humidity is spiked even further than it was now that the temps dropped a little bit. And I reckon soon enough, we're going to come across this death adder, because Stevens and death adders actually live in similar areas. They love the humidity. They also love rainforests. Like if you go up to the mid-north coast of New South Wales, it's some of the highest density of death adder anywhere in Australia. And both Stevens and the death adder are side by side in there. But it's good to finally see a snake. Now, I reckon this is actually a young male out in search of a female. And I know I've been saying that a lot, but you can actually see the length of his tail as well. It's quite long. And I'm not going to interrupt his night. He's on his way for a girl, so we'll let him go. But how good's that? First snake of the night, and it's a bloody Stevens. That's unreal. Alright, so we found exactly what we set out to find, and this in front of me is the common death adder, and this is actually the grey form, which is very hard to find in this particular location, but well, I'm excited. We spent a lot of time looking at habitat, a lot of time looking at good spots to find them, and we've come across one. It's been pretty late in the night. We did see a lot before it, but yeah, I'm just so stoked to finally have one. Now, a good friend of mine, in fact, the bloke behind the camera, once said death adders are like an F1 fighter jet sitting in a hangar, and they're not doing much until they take off. When they take off, they're taking off at 360 kilometers an hour with their strike. So the fastest striking snake on the planet, which is 1/14 of a second, or twice in the time it takes you to blink once, is what they reckon. But yeah, this bloke is he's definitely a boy, and he's out on the move for a girl, which is what we've been talking about all day. And as you can see, he's too active. He doesn't want to sit still. He's so excited to find a girl. It's not funny. Even to get him to this point was a bloody mission, but thankfully we did. And common death adders, they're the 7th most toxic snake on the planet. And to find them right here in the backyard on the Central Coast is pretty bloody cool. So the death adder has the 2nd longest fang of any venomous snake in Australia. And the reason for that is because they're the only ambush venomous snakes we have in the country. In fact, every single other snake, apart from pythons, they're active hunters. So they go out and search their food. Whereas the death adder, it's an ambush predator. They rely heavily on camouflage, and that is what they use in the leaf litter. And of course, that quarter lure, or the modified part of the end of the tail, that's obviously the way he catches his food, which is by wiggling that next to his head in the leaf litter, attracting frogs, birds, skinks, anything that are willing to eat a grub. And unfortunately, they turn into the food real quick. Being an ambush predator, death adders do not move much at all. In fact, there was a study done on Magnetic Island off the coast of Queensland where a death adder didn't move more than 10 metres in 2 years, which is just incredible. He had food, water, sun, and did not need to move at all. So if you ever see adders, there's a good chance they've been there for a long time. And even the males in peak breeding season, they won't move more than 100 metre squares. So they're a very I suppose, conservative snake. They're very efficient at what they do, and as you've seen already, they're very hard to find, especially during the day. But what's brought this fella out tonight is the high humidity, obviously the chance of finding a girl, and that's why we've come across him. But obviously this fella, he's not conservative tonight. He's on the move for a girl, so we're going to let him keep going. We're not going to disturb him anymore. But yeah, wow, finally, we found the death adder. It took us a long time, but we've come across him. How good's that? Anyway, I'll see you later, mate. Now, I have to admit, we did get pretty lucky with that death adder. It was the perfect storm. We had high humidity, low pressure system came through, and we got it on the first night of looking. So I wanted to make this video a little bit more interesting and showcase a little bit more about death adders. So I decided I wanted to try and find the red phase death adder, which is the other, probably the most famous two are the red and the grey. There's a lot of different colour forms between the common death adder, but the red and grey are the two probably most known of the colour phases of death adder. So I decided I wanted to try and find the red phase, and we did. But before I get to those clips, something else you might have noticed is the quality of this video. Now, it wasn't until now that I actually decided I need to use my camera to film instead of my phone. So hopefully moving forward, all the videos I put out are going to be a lot better quality than they were on the phone, and I'm starting to make a bit of an investment into it as well. But anyway, I'll throw those clips up now. Check him out. He was unreal.
You might have to see I'm not flawless. I promise that I'm facing my problems. If I'm falling too fast, will you catch me? Will you catch me before I crash? I'm so afraid that you'll run out of patience. Trust me, I know how it feels to be hopelessly.
So we got the red phase, we got the grey phase, and all that was left was to find the common death adder in the day, in the leaf litter, in ambush. That's all I wanted to do to wrap up this video. And again, we got incredibly lucky. I recently spent a week up in the mid-north coast of New South Wales, the littoral rainforest. It's got the highest density of death adder, I reckon, in my area, and I got very, very lucky. And I'm going to roll those clips now. Alright, well so far you've seen the red and the grey death adder, and both of them are at night. Now I'm cheating a little bit because I'm not down in the sandstone escarpment of the Central Coast or Sydney anymore. I've actually moved up to the littoral rainforest up in the mid-north coast of New South Wales. And the reason for that is because it's got one of the highest death adder densities anywhere in Australia. And if I'm gonna find one in the day, it's gonna be here. It's a massive shot, like a massive long shot. I don't know if realistically, I don't even know if I'll ever see one in the day again. Because as I've said a million times, their camouflage is perfect. So look, I'm up here for a week. I'm not gonna spend my entire week on it. And I don't even know if this video is gonna make it in there. Because the chances of finding one in the day are just so low. But look, I'll give it a crack. I spent a couple hours. I'll flip this camera around and show you what we're working with. So whilst this isn't actually littoral rainforest just yet, it will be. So littoral rainforest is essentially, it's like a mix between palms, vines and figs. And essentially it's just blocked from the wind by the big cabbage palms, and therefore the salt doesn't get into it. So coastal rainforest, which is perfect for the death adder, but right now this is what we're working with. It's more of a eucalypt woodland than anything, and actually I wouldn't be surprised if we find a koala here. Looks perfect for it. But anyway, we're not looking up, we're looking down, and I'm just gonna get up. I'm pretty sure up here there's a smaller track anyway, that we can walk along and have a look at the leaf litter. But I am determined to find one, and I don't think it's gonna be today, but you can't find it unless you go looking anyway. Oh my God, That is a death adder in the leaf litter. Are you kidding? I didn't even think that there was going to be a remote chance that we found one, and we did. How? What the f***? Are you kidding? Look at that. He's a death adder in ambush in the leaf litter. We came out here looking for him. I had no expectations to find one. And look at that. There's a death adder sitting right there in the leaf litter. We were just walking along this trail here, which is literally as, like, I don't know, 100 metres in front of where I just made that video, and there is a death adder right here. I hadn't even made it to the spot where we thought we were going to go, and we've got a death adder in ambush in the leaf litter. I don't think anyone's going to believe me because this is so hard to find, but there it is. Common death adder. Oh, what the how? How does that even happen? Have a go at that. That is the only reason I found this snake. That is it. That's all I saw was scales. And I literally sat here for like 2 seconds before I actually processed what the hell was in front of me. That is so sick. Wow. Oh my God. Well, that has just rounded up this video so well, because I was just going to leave it out. I wasn't even going to bother trying to find, I literally thought I was going to be here for the next 5 years trying to find a death adder in the day like this. Like, I'm going to step back for a second. You'd have no hope of finding that snake. No hope. He's on the move. Look at that. Well, that is just insane. I actually don't know how to explain that to anyone because I don't know anyone that's pulled up to a track, said I'm going to go look for death adders in the middle of the day and found one. I don't. That's just the luck I've gotten this morning is insane. And yeah, wow. I don't know how to explain that. That is just nuts. I've literally just been sitting here. I finished filming like two minutes ago. I've just been sitting here watching it because I don't think I'll ever see that again. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll come back to this track a lot. But yeah, that is nuts. I can't believe it. I actually can't. But what a way to wrap up a video on death adders. To actually find one in the leaf litter and get footage of it, it's just insane. But that is why death adders are up there on everyone's list, is because it's a challenge. It is a challenge. I mean, it's not like this is my first time looking for them in the leaf litter. Trust me, there's been 4 times before this video, on this video, that I've been looking for them. But that is just nuts. Right, anyway, I think we're going to keep going. I'll let this fella keep sitting in the sun. It's find myself hard to walk away from it. It's so cool to see. But yeah, I think I'm just going to let him sort of sit there, and I might try and get my camera quickly and come back to him, because I don't really want to disturb him too much because he's just sitting there at the moment. But yeah, fingers crossed he's still here when I get back. I don't know if he will be, because he looks like he's about to start moving now. But that's all right. It's always how it goes, isn't it? You know, you have your camera and you don't find anything, and the minute you don't bring it, death adder in the leaf litter. But anyway, that's all right. I'll let him to it. But how good is that? What a way to end a video on death adders, to actually find one in the leaf litter in the middle of the day. That is just insane. How good. Well, that'll probably wrap up that video there, because I don't think it's going to get any better than that. But I hope you've enjoyed. It's a different style of video too. I haven't really found my style either, so let us know if you liked it or if you didn't. But yeah, I'm staying up here for the next week, so things might get interesting. But I hope you've enjoyed. Cheers.
Will you catch me before I cry?